Hello everybody, this video is going to be on absolute value. So first let's kind of define absolute value. Absolute value is the distance from zero on a number line. So if you think about it, here's zero on a number line, here's the number +3, let's say, here's the number -3. Now even though this is a positive number and this is a negative number, their distance, I'm assuming I drew it nice and even, their distance from zero is 3. You can't have a negative distance. You can say I'm 3 units away, but you can't say I'm -3 units away. So the distance from zero is always going to be either a positive number or 0. Um, so let's talk about the notation here. So this right here is the absolute value of -3. That's how you would read that. This over here is the absolute value of A. And this one with the negative sign on the outside, you kind of have to start with the absolute value, and that means the opposite. So this is the opposite of the absolute value of 5. So now let's just find out some absolute values here. First of all, this is the absolute value of -3. So what is its distance from 0? It's 3 units away. This is the absolute value of 4. So what is its distance from 0? Well, 4 is 4 units from 0. And this one is the opposite of the absolute value of 5. So we start with the absolute value of 5, which is 5. And the opposite of that is -5. So just a little bit of an introduction there. Now let's go to the actual problems. Which of the following expressions represents the distance between E and F? So if you look here, this is E, this is F, and the distance between them, it looks like we're counting by thirds, is 1/3, 2/3, 3/3, 4/3, 5/3. So we know that the distance between the two numbers is 5/3. Sorry for the messiness. Let me rewrite that in red. 5/3 is the distance between E and F. So in here, let's do the actual math here. So this is read as the absolute value of -1/3 minus -4/3. So let's kind of simplify that. -1/3 minus -4/3 becomes 4/3. So that's the absolute value of -1/3 plus 4/3, which when you add them two together, you get -1/3 plus 4/3 is 3/3. So the absolute value of 3/3, which is equal to the absolute value of 1, which is 1. So we know that doesn't match 5/3, which is what we're looking for. Now let's try this one. The absolute value of 1/3 minus 4/3, well, 1 minus 4 is -3/3. So the absolute value of -3/3 is the absolute value of -1, which is 1. So in this particular case, neither example is what we're looking for, so it's none of the above. Notice I'm doing the work inside the absolute value symbol along the way until I finally get, here you go, going along the way until I finally get to my last step where I have my answer inside the absolute value symbol and I find the absolute value of that. Let's go to the next one here. Cicero and Themistocles run for the same political office. Cicero received W votes in the election and Themistocles received V votes. Which of the following expression always represents how many more votes the winner received than the loser? Well, this is an example where we don't know who won and who lost. So let's kind of make a little table here. I'm going to use nice, easy number. All right, we're going to say W, that's Cicero. V, that's Themistocles. And we'll just say winner here. All right, so let's say W gets 5 votes and V gets 2 votes. So who wins the election there? Well, W is Cicero, so you get Cicero by 3 votes. All right? Now, let's just see what happens if we do the opposite, because we don't know who wins. So if we gave W 2 votes and we gave V 5 votes, in this scenario, once again, the difference between the winner and the loser is also 3, but in this case, it's, I hope I pronounced that right, Themistocles by 3 votes. Sorry for my handwriting, guys. I'm still working on stuff. So, let's look if this expression right here would work in both scenarios, right? So we'll call this scenario 1, and we'll call this one scenario 2. All right, so in scenario 1, let's change colors a little bit. All right, W minus V is 5 minus 2, which is equal to 3. So it works in that scenario, but it says this will always work. So let's try this scenario 2, where W minus V is 2 minus 5, which is equal to -3. And clearly you can't win. You can't say you have -3 more votes, because that means you have less votes. So this scenario doesn't work in one of the 2 situations. But let's try in green W minus V for the 2 scenarios here. So W minus V would be 5 minus 2, but we find the absolute value of it. So the absolute value of 5 minus 2 is the absolute value of 3, which is equal to 3. So it does work. Let's try it for the other scenario. That would be W is 2 and V is 5. So the absolute value of 2 minus 5 is the absolute value of -3, which is also 3. So it turns out that no matter if W is the bigger number or if V is the bigger number, when you put the absolute value symbol around this, when you subtract W minus V, you're always going to be told how many more votes the winner had. So this scenario does work. Let's try the next one. Which number line model matches the expression the absolute value of 4 minus 1? Well, 4 minus 1 is 3, so the absolute value of 3 is equal to 3. So which number line shows a distance of 3? This has a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's not true, or it doesn't have a distance of 3. This one has a distance of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Also not correct. So in this scenario, or both of them, none of the above is the correct answer. Now let's try, I believe this is the last one, and yeah, it is. So the last one in this particular skill, the absolute value to find distance. I'm actually going to use decimals because I think it's going to make this problem a little easier for you. Which of the following expressions represents the distance between -3/4, which is -0.75, and -0.2, which is equal to -0.20 on a number line? So which scenario will work? Well, let's look how far these are on a number line. If this is 0 and this is -1, all right, this is 1/2 over here in the middle. This is -3, sorry, this is -1/2. This is -3/4, right? And this is -0.2 around there. All right, so I'm sorry for my handwriting, folks, especially since I tried to change colors here. So from here to there is really, if you think about it, 0.75 minus 0. or the difference between 0.75 and 0.20, these are going to be 0.55 apart, the distance between them, right? Because they're, if you think about it, this is 0 and this is -1, so these two numbers are really in between here, right? So we're looking for 0.55 as our answer. Well, here, let's do the math down here, is the absolute value of 3/4. I'm going to call 0.75. Minus negative would be plus 0.2 or 0.20, which means you'd add these two numbers up and you'd get the absolute value of 0.95, which is clearly not the right answer because that would be 0.95. So in purple, let's do this one. This is negative, the absolute value of negative 0.75 plus, because minus negative, 0.20. All right, so when you find negative 0.75 plus 0.20 equals the absolute value of negative 0.55, which, by the way, is equal to 0.55. So this one does work out. Absolute value is probably one of the more difficult ones. You might have to watch the video a couple of times or ask me questions about this in class. But, you know, with practice, you can do this. Good luck.